How do we start this? How do we start this?
You go, welcome to the editing,
You want to do that?
the Joel Rogan experience.
The Joel Rogan experience.
This is the Joel Rogan experience.
Exactly.
This is the editors know.
Nah.
Welcome to. We'll figure out an intro.
How about this?
Our intro can just be us figuring out an intro until we figure out an
Yeah.
intro.
This is our intro. Anyway.
This is the intro. Okay. This episode is just going to be your expectations, whether that be on your level of editing, like your clients, the type of work you're doing, just making sure you have realistic expectations of and goal setting.
Exactly. And this is actually a more important topic than people realize, just because nobody knows what the standards are. Like
there's no
anywhere.
standards.
Exactly, right? Because it's a creative thing. Like how do you create standards for something like this? And I guess we're going to be forcibly pushing standards.
This is the standard now.
Yeah.
This is our. This is the new
right.
standards.
And usually it would be a bad thing, but in the space like editing, it feels like a lot of people are so daunted by the fact that just editing itself seems so difficult. Not having a standard kind of makes it way worse to get into.
Yeah, I think it's like setting like a clear baseline. I think that's something that people don't know is like what is the baseline for editing, and it's low. It's much lower than
yeah, right?
people realize it is. So it's a lot easier. Like I think editing is one of the easiest things to get into in terms of skill wise, because you don't actually need to be creative or artistic to get into editing. You can just do it, right? And there's like different forms of editing, but that we can get into in either a later episode or maybe this one near the end.
Well, I think for now we're strictly sticking to the content creation side of it, right? With the YouTube, Instagram, and all that BS.
Yeah, like what it's going to look like when you start making your own content or someone else's, or do you want to talk about what's like being an editor for someone else, like a freelance? Or do you want to more focus on
I think we start with that first because that's what we know more.
The freelance stuff? Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if that's the case, then what about your experiences as a freelance editor?
I think I have different experience than most editors, because like when I talk to even yourself and some other editors, like people work with like either they just don't get paid enough for the amount of work they're doing, or they're working with like terrible clients that want like 19 revisions, and it's like really dumb things that they want changed. Like I never really had that experience where like the people that I'm working with, I haven't had like where they'd come back to me and ask me to change something like 10 times. I've had like maybe 2 times where the person I'm working with asked for a change on the edit just to tweak it, but it was like, but even they knew themselves, like at that point it was like nitpicking, and then they were like, yeah, it's whatever, it's good enough, and then just like send it out. Right. So I think I got pretty lucky in terms of the clients that I'm working with, but it also might be because I was kind of selective with who I worked with from the beginning.
That's the benefit of a freelancing job, right? You can pick whoever the hell you want.
I can pick and choose, and like I think it helps that I've had previous freelance experience with like doing commissions and some other stuff. So I kind of know, like I have like my own, like maybe a higher standard for myself, just because maybe I'm used to doing my own work, so I know like how much time it takes.
That makes sense.
So
that makes a lot of sense. Just having, I feel like that's a skill though, right? Being able to pick out people you want, even though it doesn't sound like it. Just because if you pick somebody who is nitpicky like that, or is constantly asking for revisions, maybe they're not that good of a client to be working with in the first place, because majority of the people that are doing that, they're usually below the 50,000 subscriber mark or something like that. They're being nitpicky for a reason, and they haven't gotten that far. So it's super interesting.
that and like, and it's also like they're being so hands-on and involved at that point. Like, why pay for an editor?
Yeah,
right?
No,
like,
that's exactly what I'm thinking. What are you doing, man?
Right? They might as well edit it themselves, right? And it might be, it could just also be like they used to edit their own videos and they want it a particular way, and like again, it depends on who you are as a person. Like for myself, when I work with new clients, I'd rather they be more picky upfront, and like tell me exactly how they want it. right? Because in that way I know their vision, and then I can make their vision.
Exactly.
But it's like once you work with the client, like I dislike working with one-off clients because it's so hard to like, because then like every editor has their own style and like their own baseline of like what they think is good editing, and if it doesn't, if you're unable to line up with your client, it makes editing like
hell.
Anything hell.
Just
Yeah,
terrible.
it sucks. like I don't like, well, like you can talk to this about yourself, like what's your experience like working, because I know yours is a bit different of
We're staying on the topic of
as
like,
a freelance.
just
Yeah, the
people
freelance
being
like
dickheads.
yeah, it could be that, or even like the good clients, but like yeah, you can talk about your nightmare experience, because I don't really have any, right?
Really?
So
Dude.
you can, yeah, because I've been working with the same 3 people since I started working.
Yeah.
It's editing, right? So
For me, it definitely took a while to get to the point where I was finding people who weren't assholes, or yeah, just people who actually respected what I was doing. Previously, a lot of people would just ask me to do revisions constantly, and it's not that I hated it at the time, because I was just new. I thought it was like part of the process. But it comes to a point where they keep asking, and eventually they can't post, and then they blame you for it, and then it becomes the editor's fault.
it comes late, right?
Yeah, it becomes, it's like, well, yeah, it's late because you keep asking me for revisions. And sure, people might argue like, oh, you didn't get the vision that he wanted, right? And it's like, yeah, I agree with you. But I got pretty close to the vision he wanted, and that's all an editor can do. It's not like editors can read your mind. They can only take what you previously told them, shove it into the piece of art that you're asking them to create, and then give it to you. And if you're gonna nitpick every small detail, like if a subtitle was looking a wrong way,
like 5 pixels.
yeah, 5
wrong.
pixels, then it's like, dude, come on, what are you doing? But honestly speaking, I only had those experiences working with those really stuck up influencer people, if you know what I mean.
They're like not quite viral, like exploded, but like
Yeah,
big enough
they're like
where
it-
they're like
they're like the
getting brand
in-between.
deals.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So like
Or,
around,
like they're just starting to get brand deals and
yeah,
stuff.
the
so they're like
10K
oh,
to like 100K type people.
yeah.
They're usually always being like, you know what, hey, this text message is too low. Please move it up like two centimeters. It's like, bro, I'll do that on the next video, please. We don't have to do it this time. And I would understand if it's like a huge ass project, like a 1 hour long freaking movie. Then it's like, yeah, you gotta get everything perfect. But these are like usually shorts. These people are making TikToks and stuff like that. It's like you don't need.
That's crazy. That's what I think is crazy.
Yeah, it's like, what are you
revisions
perfecting?
on shorts? Like I understand some feedback where it's like, oh, this is not what, it doesn't fit their branding, or it doesn't fit their style.
Understandable. That's understandable.
But when it's like, oh, the subtitle is actually, I prefer my subtitles at like 500 by 700, and you have
why didn't you tell me that before?
550 by
tell me that.
720.
First of all, how'd you see it? Second of all, why did you tell me? It's so
Like, how do you know the pixel count?
exactly. No, it's even worse. Building on that, like, it's even worse when they don't tell you in the first place. When it's something super specific, like they want to use emojis in a certain area, and they don't tell you.
I think that falls back to the expectations, because that's like a good point to bring up, where setting that baseline expectation with the editor, like as the editor, and to the content creator of
Exactly.
like what they want their product to be, because that's, I think people don't really ask those questions as an editor. I know that wasn't something I did early on,
Yeah.
because I just did it.
How,
but like,
how fun was that? How fun was that?
like early on when I edited the first 2 videos, they were terrible, like dog shit, to be honest, but they were good enough, quotation marks, is good enough to post. But it was like, but when I asked for feedback, I took it to like, okay, I want like true feedback, and then they would tell me exactly, oh, they didn't like how I did this, they didn't like they didn't like how I put the subtitles in this area, they think it'd be better here, right? Like everyone has their own creative vision, and
Yeah.
like not taking criticism as an attack on you as a person or an editor is something that people need to get comfortable with. Like I'm pretty comfortable with taking criticism, and like sometimes I might get a little bit offended, but it's like more of like, oh, I put so much time into this thing, right? And then when someone criticizes that thing, it hurts your feelings a little bit.
bad.
But you have to remember, it's like you asked them to criticize it, so you can't get upset.
Exactly.
And then like taking it as honest feedback of like, yeah, this will make it better is a good thing. Even if you don't think it'll be better, that's not your video.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's
Right.
making something for your client, right?
So like they, at the end of the day, they have the final say. So like what makes them happy is more important than what you think is right. And that like, but setting the boundary is, or the ability to have an open conversation with your client is a good baseline to set. Cause like with my clients, they're open with telling me stuff, and I'm open with kind of explaining, not really like kind of like explaining or justifying why I did it a certain way, but just letting them know like I didn't think of not doing it this way. I just couldn't do it this way because of time reasons, or like I couldn't find the footage, or it took too long to make it. Like giving them a reasonable explanation of like, oh, I didn't do it this way because of XYZ reason, and that way they can keep in mind it's like, oh, if I like next time we do a similar project, they can give it to me, or like they can let me know ahead of time so I can go and find the B-roll or find like the specific footage that they want. And it's just having that baseline of like being able to talk about your work in a non-hostile manner is like super important.
Yeah. That relationship with the client helps so much. It makes everything go so much smoother, much easier. And especially if they understand that, you know, a video editor doing one video for the first time isn't always gonna hit the mark. You will have to see them make a few videos with you before they actually get the branding down. Usually that's the case.
That reminded me. I have one client that I did a one-off thing for.
Yeah.
Because I reached out to them, and it was not so much their fault or my fault, but it was like they gave me this footage to edit for them, and it was like a coaching session. Mm-hmm. And they, in their mind, they remembered it to be much more interesting than it actually was. Oh. And when I put it together, I was like,
this sucks.
I didn't want to tell them it sucks, but like because like they're paying me to make the video. So I put the draft together. I think it was like 70% done at that point.
Yikes.
And at that point they were like, oh, I don't really like, the video's not turning how I thought it would be. And I'm like, I think I only charged them like $50 for the video. Okay. It was like, it wasn't hard work, right? It was just mostly cutting, and then like not too many like insane edits. It was literally just like making it more clear and concise, because it's a coaching session for Valorant. Mm-hmm. And afterwards I was like, I did put like some fancy edits in there because it doesn't take me long to do them, because I've been doing them for other videos, right? Right, just got a little bit of spice in it. But the video itself was so boring, like super dry, and the video topic was super dry, and like after the second like or third time they asked for a different revision of like, oh, can we make it like the revisions they were asking for were like, oh, can we make it like snappier? It wasn't like actually like telling me what to do. It was like a suggestion of like, oh, can we make this? Yeah, they're like, can we make this like more like faster or more like TikTok-y, right? They wanted like to quicken the pace or like cut things out or shuffle things around. And it was like, I think they asked for like 4 or 5 revisions and on the one video, and I'm like, and then after they asked for all the revisions, they wanted to cancel the video.
Yikes!
And they're like, I'm probably not gonna post it. I'll just take it as like a loss. Like, how much would this cost? I'm like, the video is like 70% done, so like $50. Like, it's still this like. At this point, it's like it's like basically done at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because like the only thing that was left was to add the music in, and then the transitions and like the sound effects. Because like I had all the cuts and all the edits in place, so it was just putting in slide transitions or push, or just whatever different transitions, and the topics changed, and then it was done. And they're like, that would have took me like 10 minutes, 20 minutes tops.
Right. was
right? And they're like, it's done at that point. It's like 70%. So I'm like, bro, it's still going to cost you the full amount. Like, if it's like I did 2 weeks worth of work here. What do you mean, bro?
Man, 2 weeks worth of work for $50 is, come on.
It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it.
For
right?
sure.
But it was like a possible reoccurring client. So I'm like, $50 for the
Just be
one
nice to
off
them. Just be
is
nice.
it's whatever, right? And also it's just like my first time working with them, and then I haven't worked with them since. I don't think I think they went from editing their own videos, and I was the first editor that they wanted to work with.
Yeah.
And I don't think they understood the conversation needed, because I think they thought it was just they give me video, I give them back video, and that was it, right? And I was like I was like asking them questions like, oh, okay, I have it this way.
Wait,
Like I watched their videos and I tried to make it as close as possible. I'm like trying to match the pacing, tried to do everything. So I'd ask some questions like, oh, can you give me certain templates or give me certain things or feedback on how I cut things to make sure it's not like too jarring
as a good
or
editor,
too different, right? Because I want to make sure it fits their channel. Like I don't want them to just post a video that's like completely different and then everyone just stops watching their content.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it actually did okay.
Oh, you posted it?
Yeah, they posted it, but it wasn't I don't want to name drop. Do I drop them?
I think I know who you're talking.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think I told you about it, right? And so well, I don't even remember what their channel is called. That's bad.
Yikes.
But yeah, it was
Was it that long ago? I remember having this conversation.
I think so. I think it was some time now.
That was crazy. No, but that's what I'm saying though. With those type of creators, they should be making their own videos at that point, because they simply can't trust an editor to do it for them.
There's another YouTuber. I'm uncomfortable with name dropping them, but like Zammy.
Oh yeah.
He's very like particular with how his videos are edited, and he edits all his own videos. And he's said to me multiple times, like I've asked him, like I've said, like I will edit your videos for you for like a good rate, and he's like, I was like, it's not that I don't trust you in your abilities to edit. I know you can edit videos, but I don't know if you can edit the videos exactly how I want it, so I won't pay. And like I'm like, that's 100% fair, because I would rather not work with him and
than to lose
preserve our friendship
exactly,
than to work with him and then lose a friendship because I get upset because he's like every 2 seconds like he's very particular with like how his like everything is.
Yeah.
And the way that his pacing is, and it's like his videos are awesome, but it's and then like you recently it's his style, right? And then I did edit something for him for free just because I wanted to practice editing in like a different style, and he was like, oh, it's pretty good. And then I think after that he's like, hey, can you edit shorts for me, because like he knows I can like match pacing the expectation, but it's not like, but I don't think he's like at the point where he'll give me like the whole video. But either way, like
that's like the perfect love story there. Everything went out
right?
The way it should have. Actually, that's another good point. I think if creators want editors to get more used to their style, I think a cheap way of doing that is to get them to do shorts, right? Because shorts are basically small portions of a long form video.
Kind of. Like I agree and disagree. I'll let you finish your point, and then I'll say what.
Oh no, that's exactly what it was.
Oh, okay. That's it. But I think because like shorts content needs to be distilled so much and like condensed so much that like shorts editing is like a thing. There's people who only edit shorts, and they make like I don't know them personally, but I know there's a couple editors that basically that's their full-time job is just shorts editing, and that's all they do. Like day in day out is just shorts, pumping out shorts.
Shorts everywhere.
And it's like a thing. Like being able to edit shorts properly is
it's a different
hard.
skill. Yeah.
It's a
more TikTok ADHD type of editing. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I can see that. But I feel like there still is some type of opportunity there, because you can still do those high quality style shorts. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing it. But,
That's true.
But also having like a
it,
trainer on the side,
I think it's like it depends on like their content, right? Because I think Zammy's content is such.
It just works.
It's basically like it's like a long form short, right? Like it feels like I'm watching like 9 shorts slammed together, so like it works for his videos. So I think that works. But like for someone else that's more like a vlogger style, I don't think. Maybe. I don't.
It's possible.
Right?
I see the vision. But I don't know.
But it's harder, right? It's just harder if they like edit it a specific way.
Yeah, there'd be a lot more to think about, maybe. But at the same time, I've never seen a training program like that, so I wouldn't know. I think it's definitely something worth looking into because there's just some potential there, and it's a cheaper way for creators to connect with the editors. So I don't see why not.
That's true.
There's no downside to it. Besides,
that's true.
Fuck up the short.
Like there's no downside if like the cost for it is reasonable. Like I've seen people come back with like with the main channel that I work with, and he was like, I'll just let you do the shorts because you do them for free because like I just make shorts, but I don't make them that often. Like I think the last time I made a short was like back in like July. Right. Like I don't make them that often, and it's just like it. Like I got someone like he'll send me the DMs like, is this a reasonable price? And they'll like say like, yeah, I'll do like $10 a short.
Yeah.
Or they'll do like, oh yeah, I'll do $10 a short, and if you get 5 shorts, it's $40.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
some type of discount.
Right, something like that. And I'm like, $10 a short to me it sounds like a lot. Like
not really, because like how long are you actually spending on shorts?
No, but I mean like cost wise for the guy. So like say like
really?
he like if they want to post like 1 short a day, right? That's $300, and like shorts don't really make that much money unless they're like making like they're getting like 1 million views.
Yeah,
I think because it's like 1 cent per 10,000 views for a short or something like that.
Depressing, but we don't talk about
right?
it.
So like the CPM for shorts is super low, and if like the channel itself is only getting maybe 20,000 views on the short itself doesn't pay for the edit.
But that just sounds like a different stage of the content creator's journey, no? Because if you're in a position where you're over that point where the long form is making you a lot of ROI, why wouldn't you invest in some shorts to get more traction? I think it's a pretty decent investment.
That's true. I think it depends. Like maybe I'm coming from the standpoint of like as like a newer editor trying to get into the space. I think it's harder to try and get into.
No one's gonna
like try to find someone.
You'd have to be pretty decent. You'd have to be pretty good.
Well, yeah, either to like let you edit the shorts, but also just like for the most part, the conundrum or the thing that people get stuck up on is, but all the bigger people that can pay me to do the editing already has an editor or like has somebody, right?
Oh, that's a really funny argument because usually those bigger people are operating in teams of people. So it's
they have like
short editors.
Right? And I think that's what like people don't realize is like, yes, most channels that they're at the size that can afford to pay an editor already is paying someone to edit their videos because they're at that point.
Yeah.
Not every channel is like that. I know there's like this huge channel called Evan and Caitlin, and they just make they're a DIY channel that makes like random stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And they edit their own videos. I think they have like an editor sometimes, but for the most part they edit their own videos. Like it's basically just self-contained. Like their whole thing is self-contained. They record everything themselves. They're like a 2-man team. And like they probably could benefit to pay an editor to edit their videos, but at the same time, if they like editing the videos, like why does it matter?
Yeah.
Right? They don't release that often, and it's okay.
Yeah, let them do their thing. That's another thing, huh? Like as an editor, you can't just force your way into things.
I think that's a good good segue into talking about like expectations on how to finding clients and making money off this, right? Because like myself, I went full time in 6 months, which is crazy to think about, right? Yeah. I don't think you're technically full time editing right now.
Yeah, because I'm at school,
right? But in terms of like expectations wise for people, um, what's I don't even know how to segue this.
I don't know.
Should we start with how to find clients, or like what to expect when you're how much you'd be making when you're entering?
I, it's hard because, including this, it's super hard to talk about something like this just because there's no metric.
There's no baseline.
Yeah, there's no baseline you can go
right?
by. It's just.
I see editors go for like $1,000 a video.
Yeah,
to
right.
like $10 a video.
Yeah, some people are being paid like $10K per project. So, I think it depends on what direction you're kind of going and how fast you're improving or how far you've improved. And I guess the comparison you can make is with other editors that are in your space as well. Looking at the competition, what other freelancers are out there, what other jobs are out there, how long you're working and how long you're willing to work. Those things kind of, I think, help you make an educated guess on how much a client should be paying you and who to find in the first place. But other than that, it's really just a giant... It's just marketing, right? Like, at the end of the day, you're just...
It is. Yeah.
You're just reaching out to a bunch of random people and hoping it works. And if you're really smart about it, then yeah, you do some targeted stuff. Like
I only did targeted stuff.
Yeah. Then
From like I never like we talked about this outside the podcast. I very rarely do cold calls. Very rarely.
because they're ass,
reach out,
right? Like, no one likes doing that.
right? I very rarely do it, and when I do, it's not even like I try to make it hard for them to say no when I do,
Yeah.
because I've done the legwork. Like, I think so. Like, we can start with setting up the expectations on at least how much you'll make editing,
Mhm.
and the thing is, it varies based on how fast you are at editing, because I would never hire someone if they edit by the hour. If you're charging anyone by the hour,
It could be a
you're
yikes.
basically asking or like telling them that you're gonna scam them,
Yeah.
because that means that incentivizes you to work slower, and that's not the way to go. And so in order for you to make an actual livable amount of money that's not below minimum wage, you'll have to put in time for it. And like, it's like knowing how long it takes you to edit something and charging accordingly. And like, how do you know how long it takes? You just have to do it. And like, I think people get so stuck on like, oh, but it's not worth my time. But right now, your time is worth $0.
Exactly, right? You're not worth their time either.
You're not worth it, right? So that means if you go into it thinking that if anyone hires you, it's a win. Whether it's for $5 or for $10, you're just learning. And that's something that I did early on, was like, I basically, like, the people I talked to, I just gave them I asked them what they think is reasonable.
Yeah.
Right. And then if they give me a reasonable number,
You take it.
I will work with them.
You would.
I'll take it. But if they give me something that's super insulting, then I'll just be like, you just say no, and then just move on, right?
Yeah.
Um,
But you don't have the leeway to. Usually, you don't have the leeway unless you're
You
like
don't.
a prodigy. To
Yeah,
tell
but
if something's
to say
insulting
no.
or not.
but also it's just like maybe that's why, because I had experience and I know how much my time was worth. So like, I know what an offer, too low of an offer is for my time, right? But someone else's could be different. Like, especially if you're younger, like yourself, if you're in school and you can, on your free time, you want to learn how to edit, or you enjoy editing, period. Any money coming from it is more
Should
money
make you
than
happy.
$0.
Yeah. At the end
Right? It's more than zero.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you're not doing it full time, but like this would treat it as a hobby that can pay for itself.
Yeah.
And that's like the best way to think, like, get into it, and just don't focus so much about like, oh, I'm going to make this my full-time job right now. Like, I didn't think that when I went into it. I would think in 1 year from now, this will be my full-time job.
Yeah. And
Right.
even
And
then,
I did-
1 year is pretty fast. It's not.
And 1 year is quick. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I'm older right? I have a mortgage to pay for. I have things to pay for, like obligations to pay for that I can't just skimp out on. So it needs to be realistic,
Exactly.
right? And I can't just waste my time like 3-4 years editing for like
$2.
nothing.
$2,
right? Right, $2 an hour, right? Like I think when I first started editing, I think I edited $50 a video, and it would take me like at least 20 hours to edit
my
like a
gosh.
15-minute video. So I was making like literally $2 an
the
hour.
beginner times.
Right? Like I was making nothing, and I was editing all in my free time. So like on the weekends I was editing, after work I was editing.
Yeah.
Like I even woke up I'd wake up like 3 hours early to edit, and then go to work, and then come back home, edit, and that like I just did that,
The
right?
grind,
But it
bro.
was hard. Like I think it was like first 3 months, I basically didn't spend any time with my wife, and it was rough.
Yeah.
But then like it started to pick up pretty quickly, to be honest, and it's kind of crazy how quickly you can snowball. Just like getting like, because it is, as you said, marketing, getting the right client, and like, they will talk to their friends who are, you generally, if they're a content creator, are also content creators.
Yeah.
And then if they enjoy working with you, they will let their friends know, hey, I found this new editor,
He's kind of good.
and he's pretty good, and right now he's super cheap. And then you just kind of grow with them, which is, I feel like that's the most, like that's the norm for YouTube editors.
Yeah.
Is like they'll grow with the channel, or like the editor will like come on as like a new guy, and then kind of grow along with the channel as the channel's growing bigger.
So I guess like the main expectation right now as a beginner is just to eat the scraps that you were given. Find what you can
Eat
get.
'em up.
Eat them up, boy. Exactly right.
Eat up the garbage. It's
Just get experience, grow. You don't need to get a full-time job the moment you start. It's not possible.
yeah.
Well-
It's very hard unless you've been editing since like
Yeah.
because like my high school had an editing course, which I didn't take because I'm an idiot.
It sucks, trust me.
Well, it would have at least I would have known the basics. Like
Yeah, for like what? Adobe? We use DaVinci.
yeah, it was Adobe.
They don't even use After
But-
Effects in there.
No, my school had After Effects.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's why I did the animation stuff on.
Maybe
so like
maybe it would have been different then.
it would have been kind of like, it was funny. Like I didn't take the editing course. I took the Photoshop course, but I wanted to do animation. So instead of doing the Photoshop course, I would animate.
On Photoshop?
No, yeah. And then the teacher was like, wait,
What are you doing?
why are you doing it on Photoshop? I'm like, oh, well, I want to animate. I don't know how to do it. So then they're like, use After Effects. And I'm like, what's that? So then they taught me how to use After Effects. Which
That's
is
funny. That's funny as hell.
so like that's what I mean. Like I kind of know how to edit from like since high school, but like not really because it's not editing,
You knew what
right?
keyframes were. That's
Yeah. I do like some of this stuff,
exactly.
but yeah, that is just like literally do garbage work, and take it as experience, because it's like, think of it as like you're interning.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
And especially like, I don't know about you, but I didn't like the idea of going on Fiverr and like
Same.
Upwork and all those like other
I don't think they work at all.
third-party outsourcings, because you're not competing with other editors, you're competing with like other countries
Yeah.
with lower dollar value. So like I remember one of the clients I worked with, they were working with like an Indian editing company,
Okay.
and they were getting like decently high quality videos for like $200,
Which is crazy.
And,
You're not gonna
which is-
survive in the West.
which I'm like, bro, this video took me like same video would have took me like 2 weeks to make for $200. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And to me, I mean, I'm like, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, they have like a team. Like this, it's like an actual company,
Yeah.
like an Indian editing company, which has like 8 editors
But
that work on
but
it.
that also opens up another like pathway for people who want to get into editing though. Like, so in the beginning you start off like just doing free shit, dumb things that probably won't mean anything, just to get that experience, and then you can kind of branch off into number one, being your own freelancer and kind of doing your own marketing, or what Indian company is doing, and joining an agency of some sort and acting as their editor, right? So that could be an interesting type of segue to get into, or transition.
Yeah, I know that's like a thing that some people do. I think like it's like a production company basically.
Yeah, something like that. But it's like really small scale.
Yeah. And I know that's like a kind of a way to get into it, where it's kind of like an editing farm. So it's not like you're not doing good, like quote unquote fulfilling work.
Yeah.
But like
you're getting paid.
Because you're getting paid. Yeah. Like I think the even myself, I've thought about getting like going and finding like a new editor to do the grunt work, to like do the bulk cuts and like the
we had a conversation
tedious
about
work,
that, huh?
right? Yeah, we talked about it. Where I was just like, yeah, I just want to like delegate. I wanted to delegate some like other work, so then like lower priority work, and so I can focus on like doing the higher to increase quality. You need to delegate work, right? Because then like when you edit, you kind of go blind, in terms of like seeing things. Like you go numb to whatever you're editing, so like you'll just miss stuff.
Yeah,
right.
It happens.
And like, so what I tend to do when I'm working on a project for too long is I just won't work on it for like 1 or 2 days, and I'll go back to it and I'm like, oh, why did I edit it this way? And I'll like change the edit. I'm like, this is dumb. Like, why did I do it this way?
Yeah.
Right.
No, I get you. Sometimes you don't have the luxury to do it, but it's worth having an open mind.
Yeah.
Just going for a walk sometimes and coming back and being like, this was stupid. I'm gonna fix it.
Probably like this would be like the last point is knowing when, like the expectation of like, when is the work done? Like when is the video good enough to post?
Yeah.
Because like that's also another thing, like like a big thing that newer editors and also content creators, and being like, if they want to also become their own content creator, is knowing when you've put enough time into it, and any more time is like very little gain.
Yeah.
Percentage wise. And this is like a life thing. I don't remember where it's from, but it's called the 80-20 rule, right?
We're talking about this.
Yeah, the 80-20 rule. And that stuff is kind of like how I live my life at this point.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of crazy. So the rule is that 80% of the outcome, so like 80% of any result, is attributed to 20% of the work put in. So that means you'll get the most effort out of the beginning of the work, or like and basically the last 20% is 80% of the time. So like if you think about in terms of like a video, if the video normally takes you like 2 hours, or say we'll do a round number like 10 hours to make, the bulk of the video process will probably be done in the first 2 hours. And then the video at that point should be almost ready to post. If the video isn't almost ready to post after 2 to 3 hours of you editing, that's assuming it normally takes you 10 hours, then you're wasting your time on like stupid stuff. Right? Like you're not editing the video. You're like if you're like already nitpicking, like, oh, like this frame needs to come in at this time, and you're spending your time doing that in the first 2 to 3 hours,
You're probably burnt out.
you're wasting your time, right? That's what I mean, right? That like doing stuff like that is supposed to be at the last 20% of the project, which is what 80% of the time is. So that's why like I try to live my life doing that, where like as long as it's 80, like the project itself is like at the 80% mark, whatever that is to you, then that means it's good enough to go. And now you compare that to your timeline. So if say you need to post a video on Friday and it's Wednesday and it's at the 80% time and you have nothing else to do, why not work on it a little bit more? You can work on it. But if it's like Thursday night and you need to post it Friday morning, that shit's done. Go to bed. it's put it in the oven. It's ready to go, right? Like you hit the threshold that you need for it to be good enough. And I also my editing, the way I like my style of editing is also the same, where most of my effort is in the first 20% of the video.
Yeah.
And then the remaining 80% of the video is like basically not like it's very little editing
anymore.
Right?
Done.
And like the retention graph kind of shows it in the videos where it's like, oh yeah, you can tell when people stop watching because the edit
just dies.
Stops.
It's just
right.
It's done.
But at the same time, it's like for most people, when they've watched like 30% of the video, they'll watch like the rest of the video.
Hopefully,
like,
that's usually the case.
Like generally, like on average, if they've watched a third of the video, they'll finish it because they're like, well, I'm already committed to watching this. And it depends on how long it is. That's a big factor. Is like if it's like an hour-long video, when I'm 20 minutes in, I'm done. I'm like, bro, I got 45 more minutes of this.
I'm gonna do this
anymore.
I can't.
I'm gonna go do some. I'm gonna go do something else and leave it in the background.
Yeah.
But if it's like a 10-minute video and I'm 4 minutes in, like 3 minutes in, I'm probably gonna finish the whole video.
But
unless like,
actually,
I really disagree with the video.
Just to double check, like, so because I know I've heard of the 80-20 rule so many times. Like, it's come to a point where I'm sick of hearing it. It's like a old guy constantly bashing a piece of information in your head over.
It's a cliche.
It's cliche now,
yeah,
right?
Cliche.
Like it's fucking everywhere, right? But so is it just to counteract burnout? Is that what that is?
It's not like necessary to counteract burnout. Like it does help with not burning out.
Yeah.
But it helps with time management and allocating like your resources.
So what is it exactly? It's a rule, but what is the rule?
It is, well, the rule is like like if you can look up 80-20 rule, but like the basis of the rule is that 20, like if you have like say 100% effort and 100% result,
yeah,
right, and that's like a gauge, right?
Yeah. So
and like say that they're connected in like a sliding bar. When you slide your effort bar to 20%, your results bar should go up 80%.
How does that work?
So meaning that most of your results from like either working out, like doing the activity, right? Most of the positive or whatever benefit or whatever outcome you wanted will happen in the first 20% of
what you're
doing the activity.
Okay.
Yeah. So like the best, right? So like if we think about it in terms of like working out, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing like a workout and it's for 1 hour, you will get most of your results, like of your effort, in the first 20% of the hour. So the first 15 to 20 minutes.
It's just saying that in the beginning you will probably do better than later. Is it?
Well, it's not just that do better later. It's that you'll get so say you work out 1 hour every day, right? And I work out for 25 minutes every day.
Yeah.
I will. So say you put on, say like you can lift 100 pounds, right? I'll be able to lift 80 pounds, right? And like the difference between 80 pounds and 100 pounds isn't a lot. Like 20 pounds isn't that much. Like it is, but it's not, right? But if you look at the amount of time you put into it versus the amount of time I put into it, right? I put in 20 minutes every day. You put in an hour every day.
Oh.
Right? So that means I'm saving 40 minutes and I can go do something else. Okay. And I'm getting almost as much as you're getting.
I understand. It's just it's diminishing return for what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that it's like a general basis of like time management, people management, resource management, and it's a simple rule, but it's kind of complicated to understand. And it's basically just like you need to as a creative, you need to understand where most of your effort is going. And generally, most of your effort should be going to the beginning of your projects because that's where most of the outcome, like the result of your project will come from. Like you will complete 80% of your project in the beginning. And people don't realize that when you start something, as long as you can continue working on it for a good amount of time, say you only have an hour to work on the project, put most of your effort and your thought process and everything into the first 20 minutes of doing your project. That will give you the most like positive result out of it, right? And so like that 80-20 rule is like pretty strong, especially when you're working as a freelance client. Generally, you know when your timeline is. So if like say that the client wants it in 2 weeks, right? Do most of the work for that project in the first 20% of the 2 weeks. So like the first 3 days. You'll get most of your work done in that first 3 days. And then you can kind of work on it slowly throughout the rest of the 2 weeks. And that will be the remaining X percentage that you want to put into it. But most of your focus and attention should be at the beginning. It sounds dumb.
It does sound very dumb. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right? But it's like,
because
it's weird, and like,
so
you also,
because what is it asking you to? It's asking you to switch projects so that you get the benefit of the 20% every time, essentially, right?
It's not really like asking you to switch projects. It's allocating your effort and like your brain power at the right times.
And is that in terms of time management, or is that in terms of what you're doing?
It's both.
It's
so
both.
Like,
okay.
So say that like the project itself, right? If you did if you're making a video, and like you put all the transitions in, you have your sound effects, your music, the cuts, everything, right? It's ready, and you're gonna post it. You can look at it and be like, oh, there's always something to change, right? Like you can always tweak it to make it better. Yeah. And then, but if you get stuck in that mindset of, oh, I can make this better, and then you watch it again and say, oh, I can make this other thing better. I can make this other thing better, right? You'll end up spending more time chasing, oh, I can make this other thing better,
than actually finishing
tweaking it by like by like 1%. Like the actual like let's say like the video, if we gauge it like out of 10, like 10 being, or I guess we can do it YouTube terms, 1 being like the best video ever, and like 10 being like a trash video, right? You want the video to be like a 2, a 3 or a 2, right? Like that's like your baseline, right? So as long as every video you edit, you can make it like a 3 or 2 or a 2, then you're golden, right? And then realizing that, like, see how much time that would take you, and then you can use that as like a quote. Be like, okay, like a 3 out of 10 for me takes me like 4 hours, right? And if we use the 80-20 rule, then you just have to know that, okay, what is 3 hours 20% of, right? And then you go backwards from there, and then that's how long you tell the person or your client like how long it will take you.
Okay.
Right? Because then that way you have extra time to work on the project to make it better, right? So you're like, oh, I want to try to make this a 1 out of 10, right? So then you're going to be putting in, so like say after 3 hours you got 3 out of 10. To make it a 1 out of 10, you got to put in like 6 or 7 hours extra. So that's a total of like 9 to 10 hours.
Okay. I think I understand how you're using it now.
Right. But it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird to think about, but if you can kind of like apply the principle to how you like operate and do your work, then it'll save you a lot of time and headache, because then you'll be like, oh, the video is good enough to send off. And then you send it off to them, and if they like it, guess what? Yeah, it's good enough, right? But if they're like, oh, I want to change this thing, that's fine too. You got it to a point where you were like, yeah, this is good enough to go. And then if it's early, then they're like, oh yeah, this is sick. Like it's early. They don't have to worry about the next video timeline. They just like schedule it and they're ready to go. But if you get it to them and it's early and they like, oh, actually, I don't like this thing. Can you change it? You have time to fix it.
It sounds like such over glorified way of saying, what's it called? Underpresent, overachieve, or something like that.
It is. It kind of is.
Because you're telling your client, I'm going to take a week to do it, and then you take 3
under
days
promise.
to do it.
Yeah, you under promise and you
over deliver.
And you over deliver, right?
Yeah.
But that's basically what the rule is.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But like you do that with everything in life. That way you know, like, okay, after this point, it's going to take me way more time to do something, right? So is it good enough? Right? And that's basically like, that gives you the ability to ask, is this good enough?
Okay.
Because, and then if the answer is no, then you can keep working on it. But it lets you stop and reflect on the principle or the idea of like, when is this done? When is this project done?
Yeah.
Right?
Because now you have something to measure it by. kind of.
Yes, and that's basically like why I think it's like a good thing is like you can stop and be like, okay, yeah, this is good enough, and then boom, you can send it out. You're like, no, I don't think this is good enough yet, and then you can say why. You can give yourself a reason why, and then when you can give yourself that reason why this isn't good enough, how like you can kind of see like, oh, how long will this take me to do? Will this take me like another 4 hours to do this thing?
Mm-hmm.
If the answer, if that 4 hours isn't worth your time, then it's not worth it, right? Then don't do it. But if it is, then that means that's not 80%. Do you know what I mean? Like then you're not at that point where it's like 80% done, where it's a 3 out of 10. If maybe it's like a 4 out of 10, right? So then you put in that little extra effort. Now it's of 3 out of 10. Now you can change your scale, and then you know how long it takes you to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to that point, that's when you can start getting more efficient with it and cutting back.
What a little concept there.
Yeah, it's complicated.
I feel like,
but also it's pretty simple at the same time. It's like a complex thing.
I could be overcomplicating it. That could be the case as well. I could just completely overthinking what the hell this is. I know it's based off the bell curve or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a numbers guy. That's probably what it is. Just looking. I don't know. Because from my experience, I've always done everything from what makes sense to me and I guess what feels right. So seeing everything, but it all leads to the same conclusion. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you shouldn't be telling your client you're gonna do this and not do it, or you shouldn't be overworking yourself to the point, or overthinking a small little things part of the project that doesn't help you finish it.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess it's just two perspectives trying to align.
Yeah, it's also like like a work-life balance thing.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
For the like sometimes like the numbers will be like different, right? It might not exactly be 80-20. It might be like 40 60,
Well, yeah, life,
right?
You can't always guarantee the numbers.
Right. But like for the most part, I try to like do it helps you it really helps you with not burning out and like
Getting
setting your good boundaries with your work.
Right. But I think we can pretty much wrap up soon, huh?
Yeah, a long tangent on
80-20.
80-20, but like that's cool.
It's whatever. If we can have like some summarizing points, like what.
Maybe we can do it afterwards.
To
be honest, like after the video, because like I don't remember what the fuck we talk about.
Type shit. See you guys next time.
Yeah. What did we talk about? I don't know. Talking about editing.
I'll figure it out.
Make money.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
I think we can wrap it up. I think we're done.
Yeah.
It's been an hour.
Yeah. And we're done here. Just drop the mic.
Drop the mic. Just ends the video.